Karen laughed at my camouflage helicopter until I landed it at the HOA Clubhouse lawn. Have you ever met someone who thinks they own the world, only to watch them crumble when their assumptions crash and burn? That's exactly what happened when Karen, the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood, decided to mock my pride and joy a camouflage-painted helicopter I'd spent years restoring. She thought it was a joke, a tacky toy for a dreamer with no substance. But when I fired up the blades and brought it down right in the middle of her precious HOA Clubhouse lawn, the look on her face was worth every second of her ridicule. It all started at the annual neighborhood barbecue, an event Karen treated like her personal coronation. She strutted around in her pristine white sundress, clipboard in hand, barking orders about where the potato salad should go and who parked their car a centimeter over the line. I'd moved to this gated community a year ago, a quiet guy with a passion for aviation and a knack for fixing things. My latest project was a vintage helicopter, lovingly restored and painted in a sleek camouflage pattern, not because I'm some wannabe soldier, but because I thought it looked badass. I kept it in a hangar at a nearby airfield, but I'd mentioned it casually to a few neighbors. Word spreads fast in a place like this, and soon enough Karen caught wind of it. "You're the guy with the camo helicopter?" she sneered, loud enough for half the barbecue to hear. Her voice dripped with condescension, like she'd caught me wearing socks with sandals. "What, do you think you're in some action movie? Please, Dave, that thing probably doesn't even fly. It's just a midlife crisis with propellers." The crowd chuckled, some nervously, others egged on by her confidence. I shrugged, took a sip of my beer, and let her have her moment. I'd learned long ago that people like Karen thrive on attention, and I wasn't about to give her more fuel. But inside, I was already planning. The truth was, that helicopter wasn't just a hobby, it was my heart and soul. I'd spent 3 years and countless late nights wrenching on it, tracking down rare parts, and teaching myself aeronautics from scratch. I wasn't some rich guy with a toy. I was a mechanic who'd clawed my way out of a rough childhood, where dreaming big was laughed at just as much as Karen laughed now. The helicopter flew, all right. I'd taken it up a dozen times, soaring over the countryside, feeling freer than I ever had on the ground. But Karen didn't know that. To her, I was just the quiet guy in Lot 47 who didn't bow to her HOA rules about lawn ornaments or mailbox colors. What Karen didn't know was that I'd been invited to showcase my helicopter at a local aviation expo. A big deal for enthusiasts like me. The catch? I needed a dramatic entrance to make an impression. And the more I thought about her smug grin, the more I realized the perfect spot. The HOA's pristine clubhouse lawn, the one Karen treated like sacred ground. She'd written me 3 citations for parking my truck improperly in my own driveway, and I'd heard her rant about maintaining property values one too many times. If she wanted to laugh, I'd give her something to talk about. The plan wasn't easy. I needed clearance from the airfield, a flight path that wouldn't ruffle too many feathers, and a way to land without breaking any major laws. I spent weeks researching local ordinances, consulting with my buddy Mike, a former air traffic controller who'd moved to the neighborhood last month. Mike was a wiry guy with a quick laugh and a knack for bending rules without breaking them. "You're nuts, Dave," he said, grinning over a beer as we pored over maps in my garage. "But if you pull this off, Karen's gonna lose her mind." "I'm in." He helped me plot a route, timing it for the HOA's monthly meeting when Karen would be holding court on the clubhouse patio. The day of the expo arrived, a crisp Saturday morning with clear skies. I'd told no one in the neighborhood except Mike, who was waiting near the clubhouse with a camcorder because if this went down, I wanted proof. At the airfield, I ran through my pre-flight checks, my hands steady despite the adrenaline pumping through me. The helicopter gleamed under the sun, its camouflage paint shimmering like a challenge. I climbed in, fired up the engine, and felt the familiar hum of the rotors. As I lifted off, I pictured Karen's face, her smug certainty that I was all talk. Not today. The flight to the neighborhood took 10 minutes, a low buzz over the suburbs that had a few folks looking up from their yards. I circled once, spotting the clubhouse below, its manicured lawn glowing green under the noon sun. The HOA meeting was in full swing, a crowd of neighbors on the patio sipping iced tea while Karen gestured wildly about unauthorized garden gnomes. I toggled the radio to the frequency Mike had set up, announcing my approach to the airfield tower for the record. Then, with a deep breath, I began my descent. The moment the helicopter's shadow fell over the lawn, heads turned. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the rotors kicked up a whirlwind, sending napkins and paper plates flying. Karen's voice cut off mid-sentence, her clipboard frozen in midair. I guided the chopper down with precision, touching down dead center on the lawn, the grass flattening beneath the skids. The engine's roar faded as I powered down, and for a moment, the silence was deafening. Then came the chaos. Karen stormed forward, her face redder than the barbecue sauce she'd critiqued earlier. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Dave?" she shrieked, her voice cracking. "This is private property. You can't just you know how much this lawn costs to maintain." I stepped out of the cockpit, calm as could be, and leaned against the helicopter. "Relax, Karen," I said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "I've got permits, clearance, and insurance. This is for the Aviation Expo. You want to see the paperwork." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish, but nothing came out. The crowd was buzzing now, phones out, snapping pictures. That's when Mike stepped in, the twist I hadn't expected. He wasn't just there to record, brought a wild card. "Hey, Karen," he called, holding up a tablet. "You might want to check this." He pulled up a live feed from the Expo's social media, where my landing was already going viral. Comments were pouring in. "Epic and trance. Who's the pilot? That camo chopper is sick." Karen's face went from red to ghostly white as she realized this wasn't just a stunt, it was a spectacle. And she was the punchline. She tried to rally, sputtering about bylaws and fines, but the crowd wasn't having it. Neighbors who'd endured her nitpicking for years started clapping, some even cheering. One older lady, Mrs. Jenkins, who'd once gotten a citation for her rose bushes being too tall, yelled, "That's how you shut her up, Dave!" The laughter spread, and Karen's authority unraveled like a cheap sweater. She stormed off, muttering about lawyers, but no one followed. The HOA meeting dissolved into an impromptu helicopter tour, with kids begging to sit in the cockpit and adults snapping selfies. By the time I flew out to the expo later that day, the story had spread across town. The expo organizers loved it, and my helicopter won Best in Show for its craftsmanship and, well, the ballsy entrance. Karen, meanwhile, was noticeably quiet at the next HOA meeting. Rumor had it she tried to file a complaint with the city, but my paperwork was ironclad, thanks to Mike's help. She'd overplayed her hand and lost her grip on the neighborhood's respect. Looking back, it wasn't just about landing a helicopter on her precious lawn. It was about showing that people like Karen, who thrive on control and condescension, don't get to define who you are or what you're capable of. I'd spent years proving doubters wrong, from my childhood to that moment, and every time, it felt like flying free, unstoppable, alive. That day, I didn't just land a helicopter. I landed a lesson. Underestimate people at your own risk. What do you think? Did Karen deserve her comeuppance? Or did I take it too far? Share your thoughts below.